everyone, today I want to talk about lenses and how to pick the right one that you need for the job that you're doing. I wanted to show you how to do this yesterday while I was shooting a rodeo, so in application I could talk about why I was swapping different lenses out to get different kinds of shots, but it got way too loud. You wouldn't be able to hear me, so I'm doing this now, and I'll cut back to some clips from yesterday to hopefully demonstrate what I'm talking about. So, when I was shooting the rodeo, you'll see here in this clip that they had me positioned way at the other end of the arena. You couldn't see anything from where I was, well, hardly. And that's why I was using this 100 to 400 millimeter telephoto lens, so I could get as close to the action as possible and really pick up that fine detail I wouldn't be able to see otherwise. I think I was actually pushed all the way into 400 millimeters here, so I could really get everything. So I was shooting that first clip on this little camera here that's shooting at an 18 millimeter lens, so you can see the difference between that and this 400 millimeter. But the reason I wanted to use a zoom lens was so I'd have some versatility and some variety. If I shot the entire rodeo at that super zoomed in rate, it would get really boring when I'm cutting the final video together. So to have that kind of dynamic flexibility to get some kind of wider shots and some close shots, I wanted to have that. But since this lens can only go down to 100 millimeters, I would often have to swap it out for this one, which is a 24 to 105. So I'd be able to get an even wider shot. I guess there's the lesson right there, is if you're super far from the subject, make sure that your lens has a big number. I mean, that sounds pretty obvious, but here's why. The human eyeball naturally has a focal length of about 55 millimeters. It's actually somewhere between 40 and 70. So anything below 40 starts to have kind of that fisheye-y look. And anything beyond that really gets that finer detail I was telling you about. You can really see some stuff if you're zoomed in closer that you wouldn't naturally be able to see. And focal length is important because that is what that number on your lens means. The 400 millimeters has to do with the actual piece of glass inside of this lens housing. So, here are the numbers, 100 to 400, and you can see on this lens here, that little line, that is my focal length. Right now I'm set to 100. And now I'm spinning it to 400. Actually, I'll stop there at 250. And if I come around here, it'll tell me on my display what my focal length is. 241 millimeters. I was close with 250. So, what does that mean? The actual piece of glass inside of this lens body is 241 millimeters from the sensor of the camera, which is the digital equivalent to film. Let me show you what it looks like. So there's the sensor right in there, that green piece of glass. And the lens I just took off, there's the actual lens right there. So a second ago, as I was saying, that piece of glass in there was 241 millimeters from the sensor of the camera. So you'll see as we zoom in with the lens body, the actual lens inside is moving at the same speed and going the same distance from the sensor inside the camera. Which is why when you zoom in, you need more light to come in through the lens. Or maybe you'll notice that the picture is getting darker. That's because there's more space for light to get through. And one more thing, I make sure to attach the end of all my lenses these UV protective filters. Does a couple things. I think the primary uses are to protect the actual lens from dust or scratches, or if you drop it, this will hopefully break before your lens does. But it also makes colors outdoors a little bit more vibrant, since it does kind of filter out some of those UV filters. But to make things more confusing, this is also measured in milliliters, but it has nothing to do, milliliters? Millimeters. Has nothing to do with focal length. It has to do with the actual diameter of your lens. This is 77 millimeters, which has, like I said, nothing to do with focal length or where your zoom lies. And now I've just put fingerprints all over my filter. Great. So again, the big takeaway is when you're close to your subject, smaller lens, smaller focal length. If you need to get something really far away or you really want that fine detail, get that bigger lens. It's usually worth it. Now these zoom lenses are usually a little more expensive than prime lenses. Those are lenses that don't have any zoom capabilities. They're just set to one fixed focal length. But I like the zoom lenses because for the work that I get, I like having that dynamic flexibility to be able to get different shots, especially at like a live event when anything can happen and you need to be able to adjust on the fly. That's good for me. I'm gonna stop peekabooing in like that. That's kind of weird. Just in time to end the video, actually. I hope that you learned something from that and that it all made sense. If I had left anything out, maybe I'll make an amendment after this. I was kind of rambling as I was going, I'll admit. But if you want help or have any ideas for some videos, let me know. We can do it together. Thanks for watching.